Alright, hello, and welcome to Camel Finance. I'm your boy Camel, and in case you missed yesterday's video, there are hedge funds and money managers sat on levels of cash that we haven't seen for 20 years. And so these funds are waiting around to deploy this cash. And I even found a hidden Bitcoin bottom confluence live at the end of the video. So if you haven't seen that, go and check that out. And remember, this isn't a recession. This is a planned wealth transfer. And if you want a chance at surviving this wealth transfer, one of the best ways is Bitcoin. Despite the recent volatility, Bitcoin has been added to the University of Cincinnati's curriculum. So finally, our school's about to start teaching something of actual real-life value. T-Analyst, the king of bullish-looking charts, has produced even more. He is showing us that every time these two lines converge, it marks the start of an uptrend, and we have just done that. So is this time different? Probably not. Also, I've mentioned this before, what if this was the actual top and this was just a trap for liquidity? If that's true, then 212 bars. 212 bars. Enough time has elapsed between this first top and the recent bottom to call this the end of the bear market. So I'm not saying that that has to be the low and we go straight up, but what I am saying is perhaps we get some sort of sideways consolidation and then emerge from a base to begin a new bull run. Certainly seems reasonable to me. We also have the RSI 14 producing the exact same structure that it did that marked this low back here. So are we about to see a big bull run? Well, Il Capo of crypto, this is somebody who, if you go and check through his Twitter feed, you'll see that he's just been bearish nearly all the time. He's always bearish. But even he is coming out and saying that this is a 1 hour chart, saying that maybe he sees one more push down, which I think we actually got overnight last night, followed by at least a relief rally to 25-26k. So even the most bearish of people are starting to turn short-term bullish. We've got this same sort of structure, which initially I said, well, okay, this is a bit more broadening than this, then this is an expanded flat, or this is a running flat. But I guess ultimately, the MFI is doing the exact same thing. This is unusual. This is highly unusual to be this structured. So we've got even more confluence that we're getting at least close to a local bottom. At the same time, most Bitcoin's cyclic indicators are saying the bottom is in. Not sure how long it would take for consolidation in this range. Opening a big short position here sounds not like a good idea, unless you think Bitcoin is going to zero, of course. But things like Nupal, SOPA, MVRV, MPI, PUL, all of these things, as you can see, we're all the way down in just by the dip zones. So historically, doing this, it never feels good at the time, but whenever you do it historically, it's always yielded high returns. And that's exactly what this chart here is showing. We've got RSI sub 50 in the blue, RSI sub 50 in the blue, and now again. So we have to be open to grinding sideways, to not doing much for a couple of weeks, months even. But it's interesting that if you look at this, we spend a few months here. This is a monthly chart, so each one of these candles marks 1 month. We spend a few months here, and then we move up. We spend a few months here, and then we start to move up. And doesn't it seem, again, reasonable that especially if we can get this pivot in September, that we're going to spend a few months going sideways and then emerge from a base? Here's another chart. I just keep finding more and more and more of these. They're absolutely everywhere, and they're all telling us the exact same thing. They're all telling us that now is the time to be DCAing, just like this guy says. Although he says into his favorite alts, each to their own. But the point is, we come down and touch this line, and then we start an uptrend. We come down and touch this line, and we start an uptrend. Touch this line, and we start an uptrend. And now here we are again touching it. So paradigm shift, break down to zero? I don't think so. That's just my opinion. The 1 week Coinbase chart is telling us that we are at record levels of oversold. And when I say record, I do mean the weekly RSI makes history. It is the most oversold it has ever been. Michael Saylor has been under fire because he's been buying Bitcoin and telling people to buy Bitcoin and so on and so forth. And Peter Schiff, let me first say this about Peter Schiff. I absolutely respect this guy's opinion on everything apart from Bitcoin. He's been very successful. He's a fantastic economist. He knows macro and understands macro better than almost everyone. And he's very, very outspoken in terms of calling out the Fed for the Fed's BS and corruption and terrible monetary policy. The thing about Peter is he has a significant conflict of interest. He owns a gold bullion dealership, and therefore he doesn't want to lose any customers that might be investing in gold to Bitcoin. But ultimately, Peter and Bitcoin are the same thing, okay? Because we're both anti-fiat. Now, as you know, I'm not a Bitcoin maxi. I'm not a gold is trash person. I'm often advising people collect both, okay, and silver. I have no problem with any of these things. I'm not a tribal person. I don't want to take sides. But you got to understand that Peter Schiff is caught between a rock and a hard place. If he starts to say that Bitcoin is the greatest thing in the world, then that devalues his entire business model. And so he's always bad-mouthing Bitcoin. And in times of enormous volatility, in times of Bitcoin taking big drawdowns and coming 60, 70, 80% off its highs, he likes to come out of the woodwork and start saying, I told you so, I told you so. And he says here to Michael Saylor, you knew Bitcoin was a high-risk asset. Why did you encourage corporate CEOs to put it on their balance sheet? Why did you advise average Americans to mortgage their homes and to borrow against family businesses? What will you say to people that lose their homes or business? And this sounds like a fair statement, except, Peter, what will you say to all the people that you advise not to buy Bitcoin at $1, $10, $100, $1,000, $10,000? A stopped clock is right twice a day, and that's what Peter is. He's always bearish on Bitcoin, and he's always wrong, apart from a couple of times when Bitcoin enters these bear markets. And then Max Kaiser also calling him out on this same BS. He said the same thing at $1, $100, $1,000, $10,000. He'll be saying the same thing at $1 million and 100K. He will. Do a Euro Pacific Capital search. Nothing but disgruntled clients complaining about losses. This is what I'm talking about. Remember I said he has this conflict of interest because he wants people at Euro Pacific Capital to buy gold. And if you have bought gold, then really what has your performance been? It's been next to nothing, sideways, for a very long time. Now again, to clarify my position, I absolutely believe that gold is going to go 5 figures. I really believe that that's going to happen inside of this decade. I think $10,000 to $15,000 an ounce is conservative, and 25K is actually on the table. I really, really believe that. I actually think we're on the cusp of breaking out and starting a bull market for gold. If you've been watching the channel for any length of time at all, then you'll know that that's the opinion I hold very strongly. Max says he clout chases Bitcoiners into dark alleys and then robs them. And here's an old tweet from Peter from 2018. Don't make the mistake of thinking that buying Bitcoin below $3,800 is a bargain price just because the current price is better than 80% below its record high. Bitcoin's price could easily drop another 80% from here, and at $750 he said it would still be expensive. Well, of course, if you had bought at $3,800, you'd have basically bought the exact low. You'd have been plus or minus, I don't know, $500 from the bear market low. So I really respect Peter's opinion on absolutely everything except for Bitcoin. Saudi Arabia has reduced their US Treasury holdings by 37% in 2 years. Probably nothing, right? Well, of course it's not nothing. It's absolutely something. Saudi Arabia know that the dollar is dying, and they do not want to hold a dying breed. They do not want to hold this. Why would you? There's a lot of money in Saudi Arabia. Remember, the Saudis, they drill oil for $2 a barrel. Okay, $2 a barrel. They generate an awful lot of wealth, and they need to protect that wealth. And holding US Treasuries that are guaranteed to lose money, since the yield is significantly below that of inflation, then why would they continue to hold these? Why would they continue to buy US Treasuries and just watch that wealth implode? If you think the last grasps of the financial system are going to be easy, you have another thing coming. You haven't seen anything yet. Those trying to get cute are going to get crushed and left behind. My stop loss is 0. We're here. If you think this volatility is bad, you've seen nothing yet. There's going to be enormous upside followed by absolutely massive downside. Enormous upside, massive downside. Okay? As you can see, each time the volatility gets worse and worse and worse. So make sure you got your seatbelt on because it is going to be a bumpy ride. Of course, when we zoom out at the end of the decade and look at the price chart for gold and look at the price chart for Bitcoin, like this black line here, gold priced in Weimar marks, you can see that it is more or less a straight line up, but the red showing the percentage change over a month will tell you that it's going to be an incredibly bumpy ride on our way to financial freedom. Remember, it may sound harsh or from a place of anger, but I think it's true. The utility of Bitcoin is FU. It's FU to the financial system, it's FU to the corruption, it's FU to anyone that tells you you can or can't do something with your money. Okay, it is permissionless, censor resistant, and it's the hardest form of money on the planet. Unlike the dollar, which is destined for a plunge, and we all know it's coming. We're just waiting on that Fed pivot. I'm not going to spend too much time in the charts today because I kind of covered that all in yesterday's video. So see yesterday's video for technical analysis, and I'll be doing a deep dive tomorrow. I will say this though, oil is coming down into the range that is going to give the Fed some level of credibility in terms of pivoting. So down here they can say that inflation is starting to be priced in and everything looks okay. We're seeing gold come off, wants to sweep the lows. I would imagine silver is thinking about it too. And Bitcoin is having this battle at 20k, but we know that we're going to break this downtrend sooner or later. We got this 60-day cycle low due right around the time of the grayscale ETF. So are we going to see all of this come together? I think it's quite likely. But if you found value here today, I'd appreciate if you could subscribe, drop a like on the video. There'll definitely be more from me tomorrow, so make sure you're here for that. Turn the notifications on if you're interested in seeing the technical analysis and all of that good stuff. And in the meantime, look after yourself. All the best. Take care. Bye.